So we're going to start today's session. Okay. So good morning, everybody. So we are in eve of completion of this online FDP, uh, blockchain technologies and its application. Okay. So to day 5. So morning session. Okay. So I would like to welcome the eminent speaker from Vellore Institute of Technology. Okay. So Dorai Raj Vincent, PM. Okay. So before commencing the session, I would like to introduce the professor. Okay. So PM Dorai Raj Vincent received his BE and ME from Anna University, Chennai, India. He also received his PhD from Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, in 2015. He is presently working as an associate professor in the School of Information Technology and Engineering at Vellore Institute of Technology, India. He is having more than 13 years of teaching and research experience and 5 years post PhD experience. He has been working at Vellore VIT University for more than 11 years. Among that, he was holding the position of head of the Department of MTech program in School of Information and Technology Engineering for about 2 years. Okay, so he has more than 58 publication in peer-reviewed Scopus Index journals, among which that 16 papers are SCI indexed with impact factors. Okay, the average impact factor per publication is 2.65. So which current H index in Scopus database is 8. He is also guiding 6 research scholars in the field of machine learning, deep learning. He is serving as a reviewer in several journals, including IEEE Access. He has organized few international conferences and several workshops in past. He has delivered several invited talks in the institute like College of Engineering, Anna University, Guindy, and also delivered a keynote international conferences. So he was strong instrumental connection with the past, and he is handled classes for Wipro and CTS employees. So it was the brief profile. So yesterday itself only I told sir, if I want to read your profile means until 10:30 that I need to read. Okay. So on behalf of Malnad College of Engineering, the Department of Information Science and Engineering, so we would like to welcome you, sir. Dorai Raj, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. So now you can share your screen, sir. PPT
yes, sir.
screen.
My screen is visible, sir.
Now it is visible, sir.
Yeah.
So can you put a slide share, sir? Slide share.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So before the session commences, so there is a small alterations for today's events, sequential of events. 9:30 to 10:30, Professor Dorai Raj will going to engage. From 10:30 to 11, so Professor and Head of BMSCE of Department of ISC, Dakshayani Madam will going to handle for half an hour. From 11:30 to 12:45, so Dr. Manas ER, a psychiatrist, so he will be engaging on stress management. From 12:45 to 1 or 1:15, so we'll be having our validatory function. Okay, so this will be the sequential of events of today's session, today's events. Okay, so sir, so you
yes,
can
sir.
start, sir. Okay,
yes.
You can start. Okay.
So good morning, one and all present here. So first of all, my sincere thanks to Professor Ananda Babu, sir, for inviting me to deliver this lecture on blockchain and agriculture. So I would like to thank he as well as his team from my bottom of heart to give this presentation. So let me quickly into my presentation. So these are all the outline of my presentation. So I'll be touching upon the significance of agriculture. So I need not talk much about agriculture. Some of the statistical facts I will present initially about agriculture. Then a quick introduction about the role of computing in agriculture at present in the present day scenario. So what computing is able to do with the field of agriculture. Then a quick intro about blockchain and other applications. Even though you might have attending this session for last 4 days, again something into blockchain because the entire FDP talks about blockchain. Then there is a fact about the reality of agriculture in India. So this particular topic is not a forced topic, but it is need of the hour. So we have to understand that why computing is required in agriculture and why blockchain is required in agriculture. So from that particular perspective, so we will analyze the reality of agriculture in India. Then the potential benefits for agriculture. So when we are able to bring blockchain into the role, and some of the typical applications, what we will be able to gain out of it. And of course, limitations are there. Everywhere limitations are there, especially blockchain is concerned. It is at the initial stage, only at the beginning stage. So we will be having discussions on limitations, and finally some of the successful models which are working across the globe, especially in the developed countries. So already they are on this particular path on implementing this, and some of the successful models they have developed with the help of blockchain. And finally, the opportunities. So as an Indian, so what are all the opportunities we can have? So this particular session should not end at 10:30. So it should go beyond 10:30, and we will be having maybe a future on this particular field. It may create some interest for you after attending this particular session. So what are all the opportunities we can have with respect to this? So this is what going to be the overall schedule of today's presentation. So when I begin with the significance of agriculture, so I need not explain much about agriculture. So especially in the pandemic period, so when government was able to publish the GDP results, so we have noticed that agriculture was the only sector showing positive results, whereas all other industries were failed to perform. So agriculture is one sector which is always a backbone of India's economy, always in the entire history if you looked into. So other than that, some of the factors like 58% of rural households depend on agriculture as principal means of livelihood. It occupies approximately 43% of geographical area in India, and agricultural exports constitute 10% of the country's export. And if you look into FDI equity inflow, it's about $2.45 billion, and the entire food processing sector, if you value it, it is around $7.81 billion. So growth wise, if you are able to see in the year 2019-20, so we were able to see that not agriculture alone, the allied sectors, that is food processing sector, if you looked into, there are about 2.1% of growth we are able to see. So whereas the number of the 283.37 million tons of grains were produced in the year of 2018-19, and it was expected to grow in another 8-9 more million tons every year after that. So the source is from the Government of India website itself. So these are all the sources. So some of the significance of agriculture. Status of present scenario of agriculture. So when you looked into the future, so what will be the future? So obviously every human being and every animal, for everything, the agriculture must be the source for their survival. So we have to eat every day. So in that particular perspective, so there are challenges ahead in the field of agriculture. It's purely about agriculture. We are not going to stress upon computing should come into this and solve this, nothing like that. But the significance of agriculture alone we are discussing in this. So acquiring more land for cultivation is one requirement. Expansion of irrigation scheme, advanced high yielding seeds, better water management techniques, plant protection activities. So all these things they have to take care when it comes to look for another 50 years of time frame. So what will be the expectation at which the agriculture field should grow is it has to grow at least to 40% in the next few decades, because it is expected that the food requirement alone will be rising another 70% more in the next 50 years of time frame by considering the rate at which the population grows. So it's especially when we consider for our future generation. So this is how we are in a position to project all these things, and we have to taking care of the field of agriculture in a much better way than what we were doing in the past. So when it comes to computing, it's not only about computing, it's about modern information and communication technology. So we used to always refer as ICT. So ICT is going to play a major role in the present day scenario. So it's not about something we are talking about the future. In the present day scenario, so farming management is taken care with the help of all these technologies like sensing technology. So we have plenty of sensors that are available. So with the help of sensors, we will be able to sense several things. So that's why we have the field called IoT, Internet of Things. So where we will be receiving all the data, we will be processing those data, and based on that, there is going to be a lot of smart farming activities. A simple example is we can measure the moisture in the soil, and based on that, there will be automation of switching on a motor or something like that. So those kind of things are available wisely across the globe. So sensing technologies or GPS based solutions, communication technologies, automation, IoT, data analytics based decision making, predictions. So all those things are playing a major role at present. So especially we can combine the weather factors, we can combine the soil factors, all these things, putting it together, and we can project some kind of productivity. So what kind of productivity we will be having if you are going to use this particular seed, or which particular seed will be much more better at this particular scenario. So all these things are possible because we have advanced technology which will be working towards that. So another promising area in the field of agriculture is precision agriculture. So precision farming, which will be much more into the productivity point. So it will be giving all the necessary inputs for making it a more successful manner. So successful in the sense there should not be any failure towards the end of the cultivation or something like that. So it will be covering all those things like agro-climatic conditions. So which with respect to the pesticides, fertilizers and all those things. So based on that, so we will be able to expect greater accuracy in terms of. So that is what the present role of computing in the field of agriculture. So our topic is not yet into, our topic is blockchain and agriculture. So with this particular idea, so we have the significant factors, so supporting factors, the statistical information about agriculture we have, as well as we have an idea of computing in the field of agriculture. So with that, we will go into the field of blockchain as well as its applications into the field of agriculture. So that's what we are going to see next. So when it comes to blockchain, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because you've been discussing about this for the past 4 days. So I just want to quickly cover up these things. So we, in a very generic way, blockchain uh, is a structure that stores the transaction records, which is also known as a block. So which may be public in several databases. No, we used to call it as a chain in a network connected through peer-to-peer nodes. Typically, this particular storage is referred as a digital ledger. So that's what we used to call it as. So every transaction in this particular ledger is authorized by the digital signature of the owner. So digital signature is again something very familiar for us from the cryptography network security time. We have been using several types of digital signature approaches like MD5 to SHA. So there is a transition which are happening with respect to the number of bits. Something very unique about digital signature is it's irreversible. So we will not be able to decrypt it towards reverts the original form. So that is something very unique about this digital signature, and mostly these digital signatures are used for the purpose of authentication. So which will safeguard the particular information from any kind of tampering. So that's why we will be able to call that the information available in this digital ledger is highly secure. So in a very simple word, this ledger is like a Google spreadsheet. So what we will be able to see, like it will be shared among numerous computers, numerous users in a particular network, wherein which all the information are stored in this particular thing. But something very important or fascinating angle of blockchain is this cannot be tampered or get corrupted. So that's what the beauty of this particular blockchain thing. So that's why we will be very easily approaching towards this particular approach than any other approach. So if you consider a traditional way, suppose we are transferring money to our family member or a friend. So we will be normally using, in a digital era, we will be doing online banking. So wherein which we will be doing transferring the amount with the help of account number and all the things. But what if something wrong about this is this could be tampered. So there is a possibility of fraudulent involvement in this particular transaction. So if you keep on searching for all these fraudulent transactions, it may not be very frequent, but it is happening here and there. So that's why we are in a position to moving towards third party payment applications. So third party payment applications are highly popular these days, especially after this pandemic period has evolved. So almost everyone is trying to move towards this third party payment application, and we are facing a lot of freedom in doing all these kind of transactions when it comes to we are doing through the third party payment applications. So in that way, so we are moving from the conventional way to other way for sophisticating us, for securing us also through those applications. So technologically, if we speak, blockchain is a digital ledger that is gaining a lot of attention and traction in the recent period of time, especially last 2-3 years. So this record keeping of data and transaction are crucial part of the business. So often this information is handled in house or passed through a third party like brokers, bankers, or lawyers, which always increasing time, cost, it will delay, the business will cost more. So all those difficulties will be solved by this particular approach. So that's why blockchain has gaining its momentum than any other technology. So that's why we are able to say that, we are confidently we are able to say that it avoids the long process and facilities, and we are fostering the moment of the transaction, thereby saving both time as well as money. So both are always an important factor that we have to consider here. So significant features, if you are talking about, so highly secure, one particular point, so always we are stress upon is it is highly secure because it uses digital signature feature to conduct fraud free transactions. So we can say that fraud free transaction which is making the whole process impossible to corrupt or change the data by any individual involved in that particular process. So in this particular way, we can claim that it is highly secure. Second important feature is decentralized system. So there is no centralized system to take care of this. Everything it is available across. So nobody needs to bother much on certain things. So conventionally, we need the approval of regulatory authorities like a government or bank for transaction and all these things. That's what the conventional way. But with respect to blockchain, so only mutual consensus is fine. So which will always result a smoother, safer as well as faster transaction. So which will be always a desired quality as far as this particular technology is, or any particular technology is concerned. So automation. So there is a automation happening through this particular thing, which means it was already programmed that it can generate systematic actions or events and payments automatically when a particular criteria for the trigger. So when the criteria for the trigger is met, then this automation will happen in a very smoother way. So that's what we would say as a significant features with respect to the blockchain technology. So how it works? So when it comes to blockchain technology, yes, people may claim that it is something very new and all these things. But any technology we looked into, always they are deriving from something what we had for so many years. So it is something like a extension kind of thing. So they are trying to extend with some of the existing things. From the existing thing, when we are able to extend and we are trying to evolve it in a new form, then always it will be calling as a technology. So that's what we have been seeing in all these years. So when it comes to blockchain, it is derived from three leading technologies like cryptography or cryptographic keys, peer-to-peer network which contains a shared ledger. So that's what the second important thing. And the third thing is storing the transactions and records in the particular network. So all these things are playing an important role. So when it comes to cryptographic keys, yes, asymmetric cryptography. So we have been studying from college days, and also like private key and public key. So always the sender will be using public key of the receiver, so that the receiver could very well use his or her own private key to decrypt it. So it will be much more secure approach than any other approach that is available. So such kind of facility we will be using here also. So that's how all such blockchain technologies are working. And the shared ledger, if you are able to see, so this particular thing will be acting like so we will be having a digital signature. So it will be created upon the particular transaction, which is refers to the sender of the particular transaction. So that particular digital signature will be act as a authority to verify all these transactions. So especially when there is a kind of consensus, then we will be able to verify, very well verify this particular conflict, and we will be able to solve that. So when there is authorization, it is certified by a mathematical verification. So because here nobody else will be doing any kind of verification, it's about mathematical verification. So those who know very well about cryptography, it's all about mathematical verification. So these mathematical verifications will be always helpful for verifying any kind of transaction. So especially in a networkly connected scenario. So in this particular way, so we will be able to do this kind of digital interactions. So one of the blockchain technology cardinal features is the way it conforms and authorizes the transactions. For example, if two individuals wish to perform a transaction with a private and public key respectively, the first person would attach the transaction information with the public key, whereas the other person with the private key who will be able to decrypt it. So that's how the whole transaction will be happening here. So here the block contains a digital signature. So here everything, as we all know that we will be calling it as a block. So this particular block consists of digital signature, the timestamp, the time at which the particular transaction was initiated, and other important relevant information. So normally we used to call it as nuns and all other stuffs we will be having in a particular block, so which will be always available with the hash information, because here we will be using a digital signature algorithms. So it shouldn't be noted that the block does not include the identities of the individuals involved in the transaction, but this block is then transmitted across all the network nodes, and when the right individual uses his private key and matches it with the block, the transaction gets completed successfully. So the whole process is much simplified. So wherever the private key is matched with respect to that particular transaction, so we will be able to do that. So this is how a particular block will look like. So in a block, 4 important information will be available. So first one is the previous hash. So whatever the hash generated earlier, so that particular hash will be available, and the transaction details is the next important information, as well as nonce. So nonce is nothing but yeah, unique information corresponds to this particular transaction. So it is like a code word or something like that, which may not do anything with respect to the particular transaction, but a unique information. So which will be corresponds to that transaction alone. So that's how a block will be looking like in this particular blockchain. So when it comes to applications part, yes, it is very popular, so it will be always a question mark because of blockchain Bitcoin is popular, or because of Bitcoin blockchain is popular. So always there will be a question mark with respect to that. Even there is always a discussion with respect to Bitcoin as well as blockchain. But yeah, we understood that Bitcoin is an application of blockchain. So whereas the success of Bitcoin is always lies with the technology of blockchain. So the whole reason for the development of such thing is because of blockchain, which has helped many people through financial services like digital wallets or something like that. So it will also helpful for providing micro loans, micro payments, and all those ideal economic circumstances. We will be able to use the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or something like that. So with the help of blockchain technology, all these things has evolved. So the next major impact of blockchain technology is trust. So trust is something very important. So if we are able to build a trust, then only a technology will grow. Especially this particular technology is all about financial transactions. So when it comes to financial transactions, trust is the first and foremost thing that has to be developed. Especially in this particular technology, we are able to prove that this is the most trustful technology one could bear with. So if you are talking about a sphere of international transactions, so we will be able to understand so how difficult it was when we are about to do international transactions. So especially if it is a huge amount or something like that, in the previous experiences, lawyers might have hired to bridge the trust between two parties. So you have to spend a lot of time for the lawyer as well as money to enable this. So there will be always a delay with respect to that. But when there is an introduction of cryptocurrency, the whole scenario has changed. So there will not be much difficulty in terms of handling all those things with the help of a third party, but straight away we will be able to handle that. So in a advent of Internet of Things, IoT, so where we will be having a lot of smarter things. So we have smart machines, smart devices, so many smartness involved in our day-to-day life. So all these smart technologies have evolved with the help of sensors and so many other allied areas. So here the information transfer and all those things which are happening through internet. So where if you are able to introduce blockchain there, then without any human involvement or without any human interaction, so we will be able to perform this in a much better way. So that's what we will be able to achieve with the help of blockchain. So other than that, if you are talking about some of the automated transformation, automated traffic management, and all those things, smart contracts, everywhere we will be able to involve blockchain to automate that in a more trusted manner. So especially in companies like Airbnb and Uber kind of things, so they are already using blockchain technology to create a decentralized peer-to-peer network. So it allows people to pay for things like toll fees, parking, and all those things are allowed through this cryptocurrencies. So that's why that's how these giants are utilizing blockchain technology. So blockchain technology also used as a secure platform for the healthcare industry. So healthcare industry, it is necessary to bring a particular scenario that all the health related organizations or hospitals or something like that, they can create a centralized database with the help of blockchain technology, so that all who are involved in that particular chain will be able to access those information in a more secured manner than ever. So that's how it can be employed, and the information also will be much securely saved. So this particular blockchain technology involves with the shared ledger, distributed ledger, and all those things, which will be always helpful for answering anything related to that particular exchange query. So there will be a query, so we will be always able to address those queries in a very appropriate manner. So the transactions or information on a blockchain platform can be tracked from departure to the destination. So that's what it was mentioned in one of the previous points. So the small transportation or intelligent transportation, so those kind of things, we will be always able to track every single moment of that particular travel from the source to destination in a supply chain environment. So that's what another application, so wherein which we will be able to do. So when it comes to blockchain in agriculture, so with all these applications, so we will be getting to the blockchain in agriculture for next half an hour. So especially India Chain, that is the Indian government's blockchain initiative, which remains in a beta stage, only at the very earlier stage. So with this, few private companies are demonstrating small scale successes in linking blockchain technology with the agriculture industry. So it is at the niche stage that few are trying to do that. So it is always well and good. So we will be knowing at the beginning of that. So that's how we are looking into this particular topic. So here blockchain technology will be able to connect buyers and sellers and allows farmers, especially those without access to formal financial institutions. So formal financial institution, those who are having do not have access to much of the facilities available here, it will be trying to connect that. So especially at this particular point of time, we can talk about the female who are at a background position, who are mostly involved in farming. So we will be able to create an opportunity to those underprivileged to create some kind of digital identity to them. So we can credit histories for them. We can making all the loans can be accessible to them. So those are all the things we will be able to do it with respect to that. So before getting into that, we have to understand the reality of agriculture in India. So even though every day we are having our food nicely, we should always thank the farmers. But what is the reality in India with respect to agriculture and farm? We have to understand that. So if you consider a study which was published in March 2018, 76% of Indian farmers desire a different profession for themselves and their children. So that is something a worrying factor. So they are feeding us all through our life, but 76% of them are looking for a different profession for themselves and especially for their children. So they just want to completely come out of that. So they are thinking that the profession may not be helpful for them to survive in this particular life, and they will be able to get all the necessary things. So there will be a very big question mark for them. So that is a worrying factor also for all of us. So if you look at, there is a statistics at 2017, around 1.7 billion adults worldwide still lacked a bank account. So they don't have bank account, which majorly results from countries like China and India, because we are always big in population, 225 and 190 million respectively. The number of people, those don't have even a bank account. So why bank account is something related to agriculture? So we have to understand the connectivity. So especially among this population, about 60% are belongs to the category called women, who are mostly, we know that women are much involved in agriculture than men in rural areas. There was a Accenture report says that about US dollar of 380 billion that could have been generated if all these people are having a bank account and there is a kind of financial transactions with them. So on the other side, 2/3 of this population already has an access to a mobile phone. So mobile phone has reached much better way than these banks and bank accounts. So especially in, if you look at the female who are involved in farming and agriculture, so almost 70 percentage of the world's population lacks access to land registration system. So again, here you have to understand from a female perspective. So because female could not do, because they do not have much identity of themselves to involve in land registration system and all these things, which always create an obstacle for female trying to prove and secure land ownership. So there is an issue with this, so that we will not be able to facilitate them what they require, especially when they do not have all these things. No banks will come forward and provide a loan for them and all those things. So that is a worrying factor we have to consider with that particular thing. So especially with no access to land title or a bank account, it becomes virtually impossible for women farmers to build their own credibility with respect to the kind of agriculture what they are doing with respect to that. So yet numerous studies have argued the importance of female farmers. One such study concluded that if women access to resources like finance are on par with men's, female agriculture yield could increase by 20 to 30 percentage. So that is what a kind of study concludes. So if women, female also, or women also given preferences like financial accessibility like men, then we will be able to improve the agriculture yield by another 20 to 30 percentage. So national agriculture production also could rise by 2.5 to 4 percentage, which will reflect in malnourished people could be reduced by 12 to 17 percentage. Now all these factors are consequent factors that needs to be looked into in a very serious manner, because everything has a long chain here, from starting from the agriculture to all these things. So now come to the point of potential benefits for agriculture from the point of reality of agriculture in India. So when you looked into this, the blockchain technology allows peer-to-peer transaction to take place transparently and without the need of any intermediary like a bank or government or lawyer or all these something things. So which will be highly benefit the agriculture sector. So agriculture sector, as we all know that, which is affected by the middleman also. So by eliminating the need for a central authority, the technology changes the way that trust is granted. Instead of trusting an authority, trust is placed in cryptography and peer-to-peer architecture. So that's how we will be able to understand that how important this technology to play a crucial role in agriculture. So this particular technologies offer a reliable approach of tracing transactions between anonymous participants, fraud and malfunctions, can be detected quickly. So more problems can be reported in real time by incorporating smart contracts. So here we will be able to, it is from a consumer point of view also. So consumer need not be blindly looked into all these things, and they have, so if there is a issue with respect to a particular transaction, because here the participants are anonymous to each other, but still this fraud and malfunctions can be detected, and that could be solved with the help of smart contracts. So this helps address the challenge of tracking products in wide reaching supply chain due to complexity of the agri-food system. So the technology is providing a solution to issues of food quality and safety, because when we go to a market, when we go and buy some meat or vegetable or something like that, most of the time we may not have any idea about from where it came, how long it was kept there, how long it was there in the transportation, all those things we don't have any idea at all. Still we have to believe, and we have to buy, and we have to move. So always this particular system could be changed, and we will be giving a solution to issues like food quality or safety, and all these highly concerns of the customers will be addressed through this particular system. So on the other side, so this is about the consumer's point of time. So on the other side, when it comes to the farmer's point of time, so weather extremes is the most disturbing thing for any agriculture sector we are talking about. So sometimes it will rain very heavily, mostly in a particular area than the normal, than the expectancy. On the other side, there will not rain at all. So these weather extremes always will be a threat for the agriculture sector. So how this could be addressed with the help of blockchain is, so this particular agricultural insurance scheme, so agriculture insurance scheme was, I was referring to the access to bank and all those things. So when we have the proper insurance scheme for all the agriculture products from the day one till the end, so the farmers can pay an insurance premium before the cropping cycle begins itself. So without any expectation, without any prediction, they will be able to enroll into this, they will be able to pay into that. And the insurer also bears all the insured risk, and farmers are able to manage their financial exposure to weather extremes. So something really went wrong in any of the direction, maybe something to that extreme or that this extreme, anything happens here, there will not be any manual involvement or intervention at all. So with that particular thing itself, the whole thing will be covered. So for example, information on the riskiness of the agriculture production and production practices is asymmetrically distributed between the farmer and insurer. Farmers are expected to be better informed about both which incentives, adverse selection, and moral hazard, and all those things. On the other side, if there is a loss, there is no need of somebody to visit the particular land, and they have to make a measurable index or something like that, but it will be done automatically. So there will by location accessible service. So based on that, so they will be able to always verify the kind of rainfall and other weather extremes they will be able to measure here, and accordingly the farmer will be paid here. So that's what it is given here. If this weather station has sufficiently long historical weather records, both the parties, that is the farmer as well as insurer, have identical information about the insured value, and moreover farming practices will not have any impact on the insurance payout. So most of the time what will be happening here is, so the insurer will blame the farming practice and he will try to reduce the insurance, but here there will not be any possibility, because completely it will be taken care by the technology, not by the people. So full insurance coverage without any detectable is possible, and payments can be made timely and automated just after an adverse weather event was measured. So there is a measurement, so they will be able to pay. Nothing else involves in this particular practice. That is another typical application. So we will be able to do that. So smart agriculture is another application. So using the ICT tools and IoT and all these unmanned aerial vehicles, so all these surveillance sensors, everything is possible with the help of machine learning. So which will be always enabled. Initially, we have been discussing about smart farming. So what you will be able to do with blockchain here is we will be able to further facilitate this particular process. So with the help of blockchain, so which will be completely taking care of the comprehensive security system that will facilitate the whole process. So that is what the kind of application. So what we will be having with the help of smart agriculture. So many companies have already devoted themselves to the blockchain application. So one such company is Filament, that provides devices for connecting physical objects and networks through a smart farming technology. So already they have developed some physical objects for handling those kind of things. It has developed a penny-sized hardware that can handily be used with the existing machines or devices through any connected USB port. So it is like from a remote place we will be able to access to all those things, wherein which we will be able to do this. For example, a farmland irrigation association in Taiwan, they have used blockchain to archive the data collectively and better interact with the public. So that's what they were able to do with the help of that. So other than that, IoT sensors will be used. Always we know that temperature, humidity, light, crop maturity sensors and all those things, we will be always using that. So wherein which we will be able to deploy blockchain technology to facilitate this particular process. And so we will be always also utilizing the blockchain here for rapid and smooth communication between sensor networks. So what we are using at this particular scenario. So here we will be able to monitor everything. So crop storage techniques to post harvest losses. So everything can be monitored with the help of that. So that's what we will be able to do with the help of the whole process. So if you look into a typical application of smart agriculture, so this is how a particular scenario will look like. So on one side we have the smart greenhouse farm, we have the cloud storage to store all the data blocks which are generated with the help of a blockchain and all other things, and the end user will be available on one side who will be able to access all this information to carry out these things. So when it comes to food supply chain, so another interesting application, what we will be able to do for the benefit of farmers and people who are working related to agriculture. So with the increased globalization and intense competition in the market, food supply chains have become longer and more complex than ever before. So even if you take an example of what I said, if you go to market, nothing can be traceable, so only thing we can just buy, that's all. So when we are able to build a food supply chain wherein which we will be able to create from a producer perspective to use the blockchain technology, which will always help to establish a trust relationship with the customers or consumers. So who is going to be the one who will be generating the revenue? So all others will be always eating up the revenue. So here only the consumer. So we will be able to directly connect with the consumers or customers from a farmer. So it will be very well working way wherein which we will be enriching the farmers in a much better. So this would make it difficult for suppliers of any kind of involvement of fraud or low quality products to stay in market, because that is also another issue. Always consumers or customers point of view, they will get cheated with the low quality products and all those things. So what is the benefit from a consumer's point of view is this technology will force all the suppliers to improve the quality of products. Otherwise, their product will not withstand in the market. So that kind of pressure also will be there for them also to provide the quality product on the consumer's perspective. So this blockchain technology makes true and reliable information about how food is produced and transacted available at the receiving end. So that's how we will be able to enable this. The use of blockchain provides the possibility for consumer to interact with the producers also, because consumers can understand the food production process more conveniently and in more detail. So when all these information are stored with respect to that, so this particular information can be always checked and verified, may not be as a whole, maybe as a sample also we will be able to done. Because on the whole, if you are going to do, it will be a very costly process. Maybe on sample basis we will be able to do that. And who are all doing this already? Walmart, Alibaba and JD.com has already taken up this in order to have a very smooth transition from the farmland to the consumers through this. So all these things are traceable. So traceability is the important point with respect to this. So yes, always there will be other points also with respect to that, the characteristics of transparency, security, decentralization, all those things. So which will be always makes this particular supply chain tracking will be possible with respect to this whole particular process. So when it comes to the food supply chain, six major factors we will be considering here. So first part is data recording about all those products of agriculture products. So we will be first record all those data. Then there will be a process of monitoring all those things. So we will be able to track the purchases, orders, updates, receipts, shipments, and all other things. And there will be a verification which will be done through the whole blockchain process about the identification of the product, whether it's organic product or the complete trade is a fair one, because the pricing and all other issues. So all those verifications we will be do it here. Assigning and linking can be done with the help of RFID, digital tags, barcode, serial codes, and all those things we will be do. So where in which all the information will be available there to share, and sharing those information through blockchain about disseminating information about manufacturing procedures, delivery, assembly, maintenance, and all those things we will be able to do with the help of this, especially with respect to that. So other typical application is about the land registration. So land registration is another important point as far as the application of blockchain is concerned. So as we have already discussed about the difficulty of land registration, especially the people who are lacked in terms of various privileges they are supposed to have. But on the other side, we have seen that most of the people are having mobile phones. So is it possible to have such system with the people who are only having mobile phone but do not have much information about that? Yes, it is possible with the help of blockchain. So the current the classical land registry system has a lot of limitations. The system don't provide the full authentication for all land transaction between people, organization, and governments. It is estimated that 70 to 80% of land transaction worldwide are not formally registered in any national system. So those are all the problems with that. So with the blockchain technology, we will be able to have a chance to solve these problems. So how we can do is we can enhance the data security and ensure the authenticity of land registration record. The transparent decentralized public ledger it becomes easy to store time-stamped transactions and historical rights of land pieces, and all those things we will be able to do it, and the system itself will be able to auto reject any illegal land transaction happens. So these are all the things will save a lot of human time. So because a lot of time is wasted in all these process, that could be very well addressed by this particular blockchain technology. So on the other side, e-commerce of agriculture products is something again in a niche area, because most of the things the producers all small scale, they will not be able to do all these kind of e-commerce with respect to selling their products. It's always an issue for them. So the e-commerce and trade of agriculture product face some crucial problems to solve with respect to that. So consumer with high overall trust is more willing to purchase online. However, the basic information of agriculture product is not so easy to be confirmed and trusted by consumers. Even if you take our own example, so if a vegetable is available in online, how many of us will buy? It will be a very big question mark. So we will always go and see physically. We want to see, and if we see also, we will be very selective. We will not take it just like that. We will be very selective. If you are going to buy a tomato, we will select. You will be very carefully select. So all those issues are there, but still some kind of possibility will be achieved here. So if there is a kind of confirmation which will be available here, then it is also possible. So meanwhile, the cash on delivery and logistics services are the most crucial challenges faced by the e-commerce companies. For example, at the point where in which they are going to sell, the tomatoes were very proper, but during the transportation, everything had spoiled, means the whole thing will be soiled. So all these difficulties they have to face as far as this particular thing is concerned. So blockchain technology here may provide proper solution for many aspects of these problems, like information security and all those things. So which will provide the normal encryption thing to enable this to also possible, like how we are doing in Amazon and Flipkart and all those things. So supply chain management, blockchain technology, as well as the other things will make this also very much possible. So with respect to every link in the supply chain, the producer, the place of origin, the shipping company, the destination, multimodal transport, the warehouse, and the final last mile, every single information, if it is available in the block, then everybody will be showing interest on all these things, because we will be having visibility, aggregation, validation, automation, as well as resilience. So all these are possible because if you are able to bring such system with respect to that. Yes, payment methods. Yes, blockchain provides always a digital payment method without zero rates. So no transaction fee, nothing. So cryptocurrency is always free to transfer. Customer confidence is another point. Through a centralized mechanism, decentralized mechanism, the distributed accounting system of the blockchain is time stamped, so that all information on the chain is transparent and unmodifiable. So consumers will be liberated from fakes and regain confidence in e-commerce. So all those things will be possible, which also reduces the cost of farmers. So many agricultural products are produced by households. So if we are able to produce some vegetables in our stairs or something, that still we will be able to sell it if it is beyond our own usage. So we will be able to do that. So such down to earth application, it will be if it is getting developed, and it will be really helpful for others also. Maybe somebody lives in the next street from our house. They may not know about the excess things which is there in our state. So we will be able to buy it from us. So such kind of things also possible with respect to that. And already several people have involved these kind of things from China and other developed countries. So those kind of are the success stories of e-commerce of agriculture products. So quickly, when we looked into the limitations, so always it has a lot of advantages. So despite enormous potential advantages, key limitation remain for applying the blockchain technology in agriculture and food sectors are. So further research, some extensive research is required on the transacting parties' motivation to provide genuine and precise information to the blockchain ledger. So this is something very important. So the information generated in the farming process is scattered and owned by individual farmers. So that is another important thing. So which will always depends on them, and as well as the size of the farm land also. So that is also something very important with respect to have a kind of limitation that we have to come out of. Third is the blockchain does not directly seamlessly integrated with the existing legacy systems. So legacy systems are always having difficulty to adapt in with the newer technologies. So that is another issue that needs to be addressed very rigorously if you are going to have such system in the future in a most successful way. So if you want to have a successful implementation of that, this technology needs to be plugged into existing database and legacy systems such as ERP, warehousing management, and manufacturing execution system. So building an infrastructure to use the blockchain technology is often time consuming. The middleware and communication protocol that can glue existing system is also a key for the success of these particular things. So before I just want to conclude quickly, let us go through some of the successful models. So the first successful model was developed by IPNLF and Provenance as a tuna tracking and certification. It was about a tuna fish. They have tested in Indonesia. So always we are able to buy fishes from the market, but we do not have any clue on which day they got this particular fish, from which place it has arrived, and all those things. Such information was available with this particular project, so they were able to start recording information through a RFID tag with the QR code, so where in which all the information will be available. So when you are going to buy a fish, all the information about that fish will be available if you are able to scan the QR code available with the corresponding fish. So with that, you will be able to start seeing all the information, but when that particular fish was caught and all those things. Based on that, so you will be able to understand how fresh a particular fish was, and based on that, the price of the fish also will go up and go down. At the end of the day, the fisherman will be happy, as well as the consumer also will be very happy, because they know very well about that particular process. And another successful model they have developed was called as Ambrosus, which was about olive oil tracking. So olive oil tracking was implemented in France. So that is also developed with the help of blockchain. So olive farmers, so from the day they pluck this olive from the tree, and when it was taken into the particular factory, when the oil was developed in the oil mill, and all those things they were able to record with that, and it went very successfully. So again, RFID tags are provided to all these bottles, which was really helpful for the consumers to scan through QR codes and do that. Celia Dairy was another system. It was dairy products, especially the milk and other things. So people will be always looking for the date and time at which the milk was packed and all those things. So those information were successfully saved, and it went very successful with the help of blockchain technology. So that is what explained in this. And Foodcoin was also an again another Ethereum based blockchain system. They have developed similar like blockchain, sorry, Bitcoin, or kind of cryptocurrency. So this particular system was working like a token based system called Foodcoin, which was developed by 1000 Ecofarm platform. So this particular platform was selling products, so with the help of cryptocurrency, where in which no money is involved in that. So only Foodcoin was used for this particular process. So that is what another successful model which was developed related to agriculture in the past. And wine blockchain is another thing. Yes, you know the importance of wine and when it was produced. Always it is valuable when it is old. So those kind of things were checked in Italy. So Italian wines with a QR code at the bottom was helpful for doing that. And another familiar blockchain platforms in precision algorithm like AgriDigital or IBM blockchain or Ampliform or so many successful models are there. All were in a beginning stage, not in a very advanced stage. So we are sincerely hoping that so we will be able to also come up with such kind of system in the future. So before I end up finally the opportunities about blockchain and other related areas. So India is a growing pioneer on the international stage for technology development. We can showcase the status to help the most marginalized. In
Continue,
Bangalore,
sir.
Indian government is funding an incubator for startups called Startup Warehouse and seeks to help 10,000 startups in the next 10 years. So this is a very good opportunity for all of us, all the individuals. So similarly, government funded think tank proposed a blockchain initiative called India Chain. This public devotion to projects targeting innovation should be pursued and maximized. So the government could offer scholarships or competitions for the startups to produce the best results and further innovation to areas. So in this regard to blockchain and agriculture, the government could sponsor extremely localized startups in the certain state or region to evaluate whether farmers would be risk acceptant. So food giants like Nestle, Tyson Foods, Unilever and Walmart have already begun to incorporate blockchain technology and its role in traceability, which can have an impact on lowering cost and inefficiencies, as well as lowering the amount of time it takes to identify a product origins and the width of the areas exposed when recalls are necessary. So though blockchain is still developing and most experts in the agriculture industry and in the business world agree that full scale implementation is 3 to 5 years away. So this is how I just want to finish this particular presentation. So we are 3 to 5 years away from all these implementations. So I sincerely hope that this presentation will be an eye opener for at least for one or two of you to think about from this particular perspective to have a kind of blockchain solution, especially for the agriculture industry. So reality, every one of us know if you could do something for the farmers and for the agriculture industry, so our entire human mankind will remember us if we are doing something noble and novel for the society. So these are all the references. I would like to thank you all the listeners, Professor Ananda Babu and Malnad College of Engineering for this session. Thank you very much.
Okay, if the participants are willing to ask any questions, you can ask. Okay. If you don't have any questions, means I'll going to conclude the sessions. So thank you, sir, for a very informative sessions regarding the agricultural field in the agriculture. So where blockchain can plays a very important role here. Okay, the statistics was very excellent. Okay, so thank you from MCE. So for delivering this lecture, sir. Thank you, sir. Dorairaj, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you again.
Okay. Okay. So now next, I would like to invite the next speaker. So Dakshayani madam. Hello. Dakshayani madam.
Yes, Anand sir.
Okay. Okay. So madam, switch on your video.
Yeah.
Dorairaj sir, you can also stay and you can listen if you are interested.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I am here.
Okay. 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 Dakshayani madam.
Yes, yes, Anand sir.
So video on ಮಾಡಿ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಕಾಣ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಹೌದಾ?
Madam, can I introduce?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So good morning once again. So today we have Dr. M. Dakshayani. So currently working as an professor and head Department of Information Science and Engineering, BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. Okay. So I'll going to read out the profile. So Madam completed his BE from SJCIT Chikballapur. Okay, MTech from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. PhD from Dr. MGR deemed to be University from Chennai in the year 2010. Presently, she is working as a professor and head in the Department of Information Science and Engineering, BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. She has 25 years of teaching experience. In her experience, so 5 research candidates has been awarded with PhD degrees under her guidance in the area of computer communications, algorithm, cloud computing, Hadoop networks, IoT, data science. She has delivered expert lectures at various seminars and workshops. She is an BOS and BOA member for various institutions. She is an NBA evaluator appointed from NBA, India. She has more than 50 international peer-reviewed journals, 26 international conferences, and 5 national conferences publications on to her credit. She has published a patent for a research cooperative proxy servers architecture for video on demand and web servers using sophisticated model based client request management approaches to achieve reduced. So thank you, madam. So it was a pleasant and a great experience that you are presenting. So today you will be presenting on bank application using Ethereum and MetaMask.
Yes.
Madam?
Thank you, Anand sir. Thank you for the
Okay.
introduction. So
Okay.
I'll share my screen.
Yes, madam, share.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is visible, madam.
Yeah. Yes, good morning, all the participants of this FTP, and I was also part of this FTP from the day one. We have really enjoyed all the sessions, and it was quite informative, and it was nice discussion we had with all the speakers. And today I'm going to, it's like a summarization of all the things that we discussed all these days. Blockchain technology is nothing but a chain of all the blocks that we have already seen. So with the amazing features or advantages like immutable, security and transparency, right? And how it has been achieved using blockchain technology was immutability has been achieved using digital timestamps, hashing and mining. Security has been achieved using a technology called cryptography, and transparency has been achieved using distributed computing or distributed or shared ledger and peer-to-peer network. And once we observe here, we just look at the technologies that has been used to achieve these advantages or the features of blockchain. Nothing is new here. Digital timestamp, hashing, mining, cryptography, distributed computing, peer-to-peer network, everything was old technology. But Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 is intelligently integrated all these technologies into innovative technology called blockchain. So that was really fantastic idea and technology using which he developed the first application on this blockchain technology. The first application developed was Bitcoin, and the second application developed was Ethereum. And both these applications are only for public blockchain, using which it was not possible to create a private blockchain. That was also a necessity for some time. So due to which Hyperledger is another tool or another application using the same technology was developed to provide permissioned or private blockchain. So under this, there are so many flavors have been developed. One is Composer and Fabric, Hyperledger Sawtooth. And we have seen all these things in all these days. We have discussed how Ethereum works and different applications, and how Hyperledger, we have not, Hyperledger Sawtooth has been discussed very elaborately with so many examples. It was really helpful for us to continue with this technology. And suppose if we take one Ethereum example network, say suppose these are the peer nodes which are part of this network, part of the network, and we have seen the main or heart or the major part or the main part of this Hyperledger, blockchain technology is ledger. So that is shared ledger plays a major role here to achieve all these things. What is this ledger? We have seen this kind of ledger all these days, the physical ledger, that what we use. So how we use it, the physical ledger, will be comprising of many or 100 or 200 or 500 pages together, and each page will be having the page number to identify, and based on the application of the use case for what we are using, we make all the in each page how many entries we can make. Generally we don't use one entry per page, right? So we make 25, 30 or 35 depending on the space available in the page and the content that we are going to write. We make entries of entries in each page, and all these pages are linked together using a hard binding here. But it is the best analogy or the best example how our actually shared ledger works. How our shared ledger works, how do you identify each block in the shared ledger? That is, in a blockchain or a shared ledger, each block represents each page of this ledger. That is, we write a set of transactions in each block. So here in the physical ledger, we identify each page with a page number. But how do we identify each block in the blockchain? We have not only page number, we have many fields here. That is digital timestamp, version, Merkle root. Merkle root is a tree where we write all the transactions at the leaf nodes, and by combining two transactions, we calculate the hash value, and by combining hash value, we still generate the hash value until we get a root. So this is how we store all the transactions, right? So in addition to this, we have the difficulty target, nonce, and previous hash. So all these together identify each block in a blockchain or ledger. See here, if you take physical ledger, is it possible for a human being to make any modifications in the in any entry in each page? Yes, of course it is possible. So if we make any modifications, we can, today a human being is very intelligent, without leaving any trace of it, he can make modification, or he can tear the page itself. So if we tear the page, you just imagine what are the subsequent page numbers, what to do with the subsequent page numbers or the previous page numbers. So in that case, today a malicious node or the hacker is very intelligent. He can replace old ledger from the new ledger itself. So he can copy entire thing onto that. Even though if the dates are written, that can also be copied. But that is not possible with this blockchain technology, where we use shared ledger or the blockchain. Why it is not possible here is, with every peer of the blockchain will be having the same copy of the entire blockchain. So if one person changes, in all other copies will not be changed. So that is why it is not possible here. And how do you provide the security here? Or how do you generate the hash from these values? See, all these values will be given as input to SHA-256 hashing algorithm that generates a hash value that becomes current or the present hash value of the block. That we have seen all these things, right? So see, in each block there will be a hash value that will be linked to a next block as a previous block, and by feeding all these values along with the previous hash, so many other things will be fed as input to the SHA-256, and that generates the hash value that becomes the present hash value of the block, and it goes on like this. We generate a block. So if we call it as L1, so all these peer nodes will be sharing the same ledger, say L1. Now suppose, see, all these peers will be having the same ledger, that is L1. The drawback of this public chain is, say suppose P1 wants to communicate with P2. The P1 wants to exchange some information with P2, but these two do not want to share that information with others. That is, these two wants to be on the separate or the private blockchain, which is not, by sharing a separate ledger for their communication, which is not possible here, right? That is the drawback of public blockchain. That is why they started working with Hyperledger to provide a permissioned or private blockchains. But today work is going on in Ethereum also to create the private blockchain. Now see here, these two wants to communicate with each other with sharing a separate ledger. It is not possible. Now let us see how to write a smart contract to perform some transactions. Suppose here the node called insurance, and one more thing here, when any new node gets connected to the network, becomes part of the network or enrolled into the network, immediately that node will be given with a pair of keys, as you know, that is public key and private key. So what that node has to do immediately is it has to broadcast to the public node to all other nodes in the blockchain, introducing itself to the other nodes. That is, hi, I'm a new node. My ID is public chain. So one thing you can observe here, every node in the blockchain will be known to all other peer nodes with its blockchain, not with the name. So every node will be identified with its public key, not with the name. So suppose here, if you take an example, say insurance, this node P6 wants to perform some transactions. So here I have taken an example of banking transaction where it's a very simple transaction where we can see our balance and deposit and withdraw. Right. So P6 wants to perform some transaction. What it has to do first, it can immediately cannot perform or cannot initiate the transaction. First, it has to, what it has to do, it has to transfer those, it has to initiate the transaction request to the mining nodes. What are mining nodes here? Mining nodes are the nodes, a set of nodes in that blockchain which validates those transactions. So here, one thing we have seen that all the nodes of the blockchain will not be mining, will not be in the mining operation. Very few nodes will be part of it because to perform this validation, actually this mining operation is nothing but it has to validate the transaction. So to perform this validation, they have to complete or they have to solve some mathematical very difficult puzzle. In order to solve that puzzle, they must have a very significant high computing power. So that may not be possible for every node in the blockchain to have or spend that much significant amount of computing power. A node which has that capability only can participate in this mining operation. See, in this example, there are three nodes, P2, P5 and P1 have that capacity of validating the transaction. So they involve themselves in this mining operation. So once this P6 initiates the transactions, it has to send, okay. And these mining nodes performing so much of operation, and of course anybody will not work simply, right? They expect some kind of rewards for their work. So here the reward is in terms of ethers. So who has to give that ether, reward? Obviously the node which is initiating the transactions, which wants to perform some transaction. So here P6 has to provide that reward. So how does it give? So to give that or to have, it must have that ether to provide that or to give those rewards. So for that, it has to have a wallet. So in a software implementation, how to have this wallet? Because it's entirely a digital blockchain, wallet should be created. So to create that, we in the software implementation, we have a tool called MetaMask. So using MetaMask, we can create or we can have a wallet, and also we can have some ethers in that. So after having that, in order to compute the transactions initiated by any node, there should be a smart contract. Because in this example, say a bank account, our bank transactions, any node, once it initiates some transaction, bank smart contract or somebody has to check, but here there is nobody is here. So it has it's a responsibility of the smart contract. Smart contract is nothing but a small piece of code that checks whether it has a sufficient amount to perform this transaction, or what is its present balance. All those things should be checked with a smart contract. To write that smart contract in software implementation in Ethereum, we use Remix. So Remix is the tool using which we write the smart contract, and MetaMask is the tool using which we create the wallet. Now using MetaMask, we can buy or purchase some ethers also, but here we are not working with the real network, we are working with the test network. We can purchase some free ethers, that also I'll show. Now after having all these things, there should be connection, right? There is a smart contract, here is a wallet. These two should be connected, only then the smart contract can take some ethers, and that should also be connected with a network. Through that connection, the ethers can be transmitted to the mining nodes. So all the mining nodes, even though all the three mining nodes are performing this validation process, only one succeeds. That is, any node, the node which completes the validation process first, actually Okay, so this once this initiates the transaction, these three mining nodes performs that validation process. So even though all the three are performing this validation, only one succeeds. Say for example, here we take P1 completes first. So as soon as it completes, it broadcasts that validated information to all other peer nodes. Even though mining nodes are validating the transactions, it is the responsibility of all other peer nodes in the entire blockchain to test that job that has been validation done by mining node, and they should consent that it is correct, it can be added in the blockchain. Only then that block gets added in the blockchain, right? So here say suppose a P1 completes it first, it broadcasts that information, that is validated information along with other details, it broadcasts to all other nodes in the entire blockchain. Now all other peer nodes tests that information, and if it is correct, then they give their consent to all other nodes to include that blockchain or the transaction to the block. So this is how it works, and then only then the transaction gets added in the blockchain, and then the transaction will be completed, and then the transaction will be added in the block, and then block will be added in the blockchain. Now let me show the demonstration of the same thing here. See, I have created the MetaMask here, and I have given the link how to do this. This is very simple job. You just have to simply add the extension to your Chrome, and here we get a MetaMask here, and here we have the list of networks to which your MetaMask should be connected. As I showed in the figure, your MetaMask wallet should be connected to both smart contract as well as to the network. To the network it should be connected because the ether should be given to the mining nodes. To the smart contract also it should be connected because it should give, whenever it performs some transaction, it should be given, ether should be given. So here there is a mainnet, that is Ethereum mainnet. We don't have actual ether, so we cannot work with mainnet. So these are the other test nodes, test Ethereum networks. I have connected my MetaMask wallet to this ring by test network. Okay, and here I have three accounts. See, account 1, account 2, account 3, three accounts I have. So transfer amount from one ethers from one account to another account also, it requires some ethers. Now let us see. So here I have a remix tool. This also we have discussed in the previous sessions, how we can easily get this browser. In the browser itself we are writing this, and here we have three environments. See, after writing the code you need to compile it. So after compiling, see, this also we have seen here we have in Pragma Solidity we have given a range of compiler codes. So from any of a compiler version, so any version will work here now because I have given the range. So once I compile this by specifying auto compile, this run environment, in the run environment I have three environments here.
Hello.
See here the, yes.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
Madam, your slides are not visible, madam.
Yeah. Not
Oh,
changing.
1 minute.
Only
Sorry,
One
sorry
minute.
to disturb
Okay,
you,
I'll
ma'am.
share. It's okay. I'll share.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you see now? Is the slide visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you again repeat the last 2-3 minutes because that was all missed?
Yeah, sure.
Please, ma'am.
Yeah. See, I'll go to the MetaMask now. See, once I create the MetaMask, I had given the link there. It is same. It is just an extension that should be added to your browser. Here I have added this extension to Chrome. Okay. So after creating this MetaMask, here, if you click here, it shows you all the different networks to which you can connect your wallet. So here the first one is Ethereum mainnet. We cannot work with this Ethereum mainnet because we don't have the actual ethers, right? So other test networks are given here. So I have connected my wallet to this ring by test network. Okay, so after connecting it, I have clicked, you just have to click it here. So your wallet will be connected with this ring by test network. And here I have created three accounts, account 1, account 2, account 3. Okay, so here if I want to transfer amount from, ethers from one account to another account, also it expects some fees that should be deducted. That will be deducted from my wallet. That is also possible here. I'll show you. Now here I have this is the account. This is the account ID, or the what do you call it, as account number of this account. Now this is the simple program that I have written. This is for beginners, I'm telling. Okay, so you can write the simple code in the remix. In the remix, we have discussed this also, how to open this. Simply you give remix Ethereum. It shows you this. If you go here, it will show. It opens the editor where you can create files, or if you have file, you can open it. Okay, very simple it is. And here I have opened such file, and after writing the code, see here I have initially the first line Pragma Solidity, because we are writing this code using Solidity language, and I am specifying the versions of the compiler that I'm using to execute compile this program. Here since I'm giving the range, any compiler will work with this code. And after compilation, once you start running, you should go to run environment. Here we have three environments. Okay, JavaScript is first environment, injected Web3 is the second environment, Web3 provider is the third environment in which you can execute. The first one is like checking my code. It is not connected to any network. I am just checking my code whether it is working or not before connecting my smart contract to the Ethernet, Ethereum network. So how to test that? Let me select this Java script virtual machine, then say deploy. See, all these things also we have seen. Once I say this, see, this is since it is a Java virtual machine, and I have not connected my smart contract to any of the Ethereum network, it shows simple dummy 10 accounts with 100 ethers in each account. Okay, so now if you say deploy, it shows you here that it is deploying the network. See, creation of bank pending. It is creating the network. Now, if you go to this deposit, I have three functions here. One is that I have created a constructor. Constructor I have created because to make sure that the account is not zero, account balance is not zero, it has a value 1. Okay, and here I have get, very simple functions. I have get balance, withdraw and deposit. And get balance shows you the balance, and withdraw and deposit takes some amount, and accordingly it functions. Withdraw, if you are withdrawing, it withdraws. If you are depositing, it adds it. Now here after running this program, deploying this program, I have application here, the bank application that I'm running along with the address I have, and deposit, withdraw are in orange color because these two functions are modifying some value with the amount that I'm giving. If the amount is deposits and this amount it withdraws, so it is in orange color. This is in blue color because it doesn't change anything. Simply it gets the value. See here it shows 1 because initially balance will be 1. See, once I click get balance, here you can see it is bank get balance. It is calling that function. If I click on this, it shows you the details, because for any transaction, every transaction it creates a hash value, and from which address you are doing this transaction, to which, and transaction cost, how much, everything it shows you here. Even though I'm checking this code simply without connecting to any Ethereum network, it shows you. Okay, say suppose if I give 200 here and say deposit, it shows you which function it is calling. See here, transact to bank deposit, it is pending because it is doing its work. Now you say get balance, it shows you 201. Now if I mention here, say some 150 or 100, say withdraw, it changes here. See, it shows you it is doing its work, transact to bank dot withdraw pending. So it is because what is that pending, what it is doing during that pending period, what it is doing, because it has the transactions should be given to mining nodes. The mining nodes has to validate those transactions. Once it comes out with the validation completed procedure, it has to broadcast that information to all other nodes in the blockchain. They have to give their consent to continue this transaction. So this pending period to do all those things. Now if I say get balance, it shows you 101. So now without connecting to any blockchain, it shows me the code. So it shows the code is working. Now let me connect it to some blockchain. See, now if I select this Web3 provider, then I need Ganache client CLI to communicate with the network. Now I'll select injected Web3 because I have not selected Ganache CLI. I have connected my code smart contract to smart contract. I'm sorry, MetaMask wallet to which test network? Ring by network. So I have selected this index Web3. So as soon as I do this, when I click this, it should ask me to connect the MetaMask. This thing, why it is not? Yeah, it will ask me now. So you are trying to connect your wallet. So you for that job, I'll deduct these many gas fees, these many ethers I'm going to deduct. That deduction will be in the range 1 to this thing. So I have to say confirm. Yes, you can deduct that money for connecting my wallet to that network. Then after that, yes, it has given confirm transaction. Transaction 19 is confirmed. And say deploy. I'm sorry. Oh, again it is deducting the ether. Yes, see here it is showing bank details. So if I click this, it shows you the operations or the transactions that I can perform. See here it shows creation of bank pending. It is creating the bank application. So if I click on that, you can see the details of the block. See, for every transaction, it creates a hash and status is pending. And during this pending period, what it is doing, all that mining, transferring that, broadcasting that succeeded mining node will broadcast all the information to all other peer nodes in the blockchain. Then until it gets the consent, it waits and then say, I got the confirmation. So it is over. If I refresh, I should get success. Okay, see, that is transaction is confirmed and block number is, it is showing the block number also because it is simulator is very generous. One transaction, one block it is creating, but generally we don't do like that. In each block, as I said, how in the physical ledger, in each page we write a set of transactions. Here also in each block we write set of transactions. And timestamp also it shows on what day at what time you are doing this, from which account. This is my account of MetaMask from, and this is the to address to which this is a smart contract address, and the value, that is the amount fees that it has deducted, everything it shows. Now let me go back. Now if I say get balance, it should show 1. Because I have just created the execution, initiated my application. Now if I say 300 and say deposit, now it shows, see, transact to bank. Yeah, for that also it is asking me, I'm going to deduct this much of ethers for your transaction. Say, I should say yes. Yes, sir. Now if I click on this, is pending again. Deposit job is pending and it has confirmed. Now if I go here, it is it shows the block that is generated. See that this transaction has been included the block number and will be reflected in the blockchain. Now if I say get balance, it should show me 301. Now if I say some 100 here, say withdraw, again it shows it is withdraw is pending. For that it will ask me every time it will ask me whether can I cut these many ethers. I should say confirm. Then if I go here, it shows me this is still pending. Mining nodes are still working on it. Yes, now it is confirmed. Now say get balance. It should it has withdrawn 100 this thing. But as a user, do you prefer executing a smart contract like this and go here, click on this, give some amount and get balance, click on this and show, or web page? Generally, any user will prefer to use web page, right? So here I can create, I can connect or link my smart contract to a web page. Web page can be written using Studio, that is Visual Studio. Here I have written a very simple code. The first, these things and all, you know how to create these buttons, and these are the two links, because since my smart contract should work with the buttons, I need to have the jQuery link, the second one, and the first one is linked to Web3. Web3 is the one which connects my smart contract to this web page. So that is why I need these two extensions, that is Web3 to connect my smart contract to a web page and jQuery to connect all the functions to web page. And see here I have a simple script for get the value get balance to connect or to link the get balance function of smart contract to this web page. See here I'm creating the object of Web3. Web3 is the one which connects this web page to smart contract. So I'm creating the Web3. Through Web3 I'm calling I'm passing the address of smart contract to the web page, and then I'm calling the get balance function, and through the method get balance function I'm calling through the variable where I have stored this object, and balance I'm taking and displaying on the HTML page. This is simple code I have written. And to execute this, I need to install npm. I need a HTTP server, right? And globally, I need to install HTTP server. It takes some time. Now after installing, I should start it. HTTP server, it has started. Now go to this, go to browser, where we have our HTTP server, where it is running 127.0.0.1 at the port number 8080, right? So go there. That is 127.0.0.1 is the local host, colon 8080. So see, I have got 151 is my balance that I have got. So now go back to Remix. Here, whatever the value, that is 201, right? What it is showing is 151. This is the previous smart contract value it is showing, because I have not changed the address. See here, this is the old address, smart contract of the previous smart contract that I was working, it is showing. So I should give the address of this smart contract here. Where do I get that address? Bank application. See here, I get the address. You simply click on this, it copies. Go to your web page and paste it here. That is the address at which your smart contract is working. You have linked that address, your smart contract, to ABI. And then this ABI is another important thing that should also be changed. That ABI is the details of all the functions. Where do we get this? Go to compile editor. See here we have ABI. If you go to compilation details, you have all these details. What is the name of the application? What is the metadata it is using? What is a bytecode? This ABI is all functional details of all the functions. So here you click, it copies the address. Sorry, go to web page. Here you need to paste. I should remove the old one, because it was linked to the previous smart contract that I was working. Now you replace that address. Understood now? I'm linking my smart contract, that is Ethereum network, to this. Minimize this. To this address. So now I have changed. Now the web page has been linked with my network and smart contract. Now it should show me the present. Save. Refresh this. See, it shows me the present smart contracts value. So that presently my MetaMask, my account is having 201. Is that correct? Yes. This is the value I have. So if I change something, it should change. Now I have left the other two, because of the time restriction. I have left the other two functionalities to add as an exercise. I have left it to you. as I have how I have written for to connect or to call a function get account. You can also write the code for deposit and withdraw, and you test your function and test your smart contract, the functioning of the network. And here also see, I have not checked why before withdrawing. Your smart contract is the responsibility of your code or the logic to check whether this host has the required amount of money to deduct it or not. So all those conditions or agreements between any two hosts for any application can be tested here. This is a very simple application. You can change it to do all those things and then complete this. Okay, so this is how you can simply connect to your network and you can test it. Here we can write any kind of smart contract that is depending on the kind of transaction or the kind of communication two peers are working. See now, let me go back to this. Anand sir, if time permits, I just want to discuss this food supply chain. Previously, Durai sir has explained all the applications. If time permits, I'll go with this. Otherwise, I'll stop.
Sir, how much time that you require, madam?
5 minutes. I just wanted to share one incident that had happened in Sweden and Denmark in 2018 and 19. Actually, Denmark and Sweden, like how we are facing with COVID-19, like that one epidemic was there with the name Yersinia. That shows more than 500,000 people felt sick because of spinach they had taken. And those people, the institute had made a survey and they interviewed with the patients, and then they came to know from where they got that spinach, because they took months together to trace back and go to that and from where they had got that spinach. And these people in Denmark actually suffered with that epidemic. They took months together. If we apply that here, immediately within a second we get the complete report, and from which supermarket we got that, from where which distributor that supermarket had got that spinach, and from that distributor had got from which certification authority or from which farmer. Everything will be in detail. It will be in our hand within few seconds. That is one incident that I wanted to share. Now they're implementing that blockchain to have that to solve that problem. Thank you, sir. Thank you all organizers and Uma madam, Anand sir, Balaji sir for the opportunity. Thank you for patient listening, all the participants.
Oh, thank you, madam. Okay, so it was very informative and very good hands-on demonstration that you have shown. But 45 minutes, it is very less time for this demonstration. So it would have been around 2 hours, means it would have been very much better. So thank you for accepting our invitation and delivering today, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anand sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, so participants, so we're going to break for another 15 minutes. So finally, we're going to see the last session. In the last session, we're going to see the Dr. Manas will going to give a speech on stress management. So we're going to break for 15 minutes. In the meanwhile, so I'm going to share the quiz. Okay, so it may take another 5 minutes. I'm going to share the quiz. So please do attend that quiz. So without attending the quiz, your certificates will not be downloaded from the AICTE portal. So please do attend that quiz. Okay. So we're going to break for 15 minutes now. So exactly by 11:30 we're going to start. Otherwise, our next session, it will be prolonged. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.